Welcome, dear listener, to another gentle journey into the past, where stories and dreams blend softly to help you rest. If these peaceful stories bring you comfort, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more calming bedtime documentaries, and leave a comment about your favorite moment from tonight's tale. Your support helps us create a haven for dreamers everywhere, where history's wonders can lull you gently to sleep. So, settle in, nestle under your covers, take a slow, deep breath, let your worries drift away. Tonight, we travel together to a distant England, a land on the edge of change, where fate and courage meet beneath ancient stars. It is the year 1066. Kings will rise and fall. A single battle will echo through the centuries. This is the story of the Battle of Hastings. Edward the Confessor's health declines. The year is 1065, in the stone halls of Westminster. The air hangs heavy with incense and quiet dread. King Edward the Confessor, long revered for his piety and vision, lies cloistered within his royal chamber. His once strong voice, that had echoed through the courts of Christendom, has dwindled to whispers. Courtiers come and go in hushed footsteps, their eyes cast low, their hearts troubled. Priests murmur prayers at his bedside. The candlelight flickers against the old king's face, casting shadows on a brow furrowed by age and foresight. He is not merely sick, he is dying, and with him the very foundation of English peace begins to tremble. Court whispers and uncertainty outside the king's chambers. Voices begin to rise in subtle tension. The court knows the truth, though none dare speak it aloud. Edward has no heir. Lords glance at one another, calculating, measuring each other's ambitions. The great nobles of England, the powerful Godwin family, the proud Mercian earls, and distant Norman kin all await the inevitable alliances. Once cemented in diplomacy, now crack under the strain of uncertainty. In the corridors of royal power, loyalty is measured not by oaths, but by opportunity. As winter winds curl around the palace stones, England stands on the edge of a dangerous silence, a kingdom without a future, watching its past slip into shadow. Edward's final days and legacy. In his final days, Edward turns inward, devoting his waning strength to prayer and quiet reflection. The once vibrant monarch, who united a fractured realm and tamed rival houses, now surrenders to memory. His mind wanders to the abbey he built, Westminster, his great offering to God, rising like a promise beside the Thames. He prays not for power, but for peace. And as he blesses those who kneel beside him, his eyes flicker, not with fear, but with sorrow. The weight of a realm lies in the hands of fate, and Edward knows the storm is near, but he says nothing. Only God may judge the hour. The question of succession. England had always known war, but in these quiet days before the tempest, her people feared something worse: uncertainty. The question hung in every hall, every market, every whisper, between monks and messengers alike. Who will rule? Harold Godwinson, the mighty Earl of Wessex, stands as the strongest candidate, rich in land, loyalty, and military might. Yet across the sea in Normandy, Duke William sharpens his claim, declaring that Edward once promised him the throne. And in the icy north, a Viking king watches and waits. As Edward's breath weakens, the kingdom begins to tremble. The soil beneath England is not yet bloodied, but it listens, it remembers. The last breath of a St. Kingon, a cold January morning in 1066, the king's chamber falls silent. Edward the Confessor, last of the Old English King's exhales his final breath. The church bells toll across London as snow gently falls. Upon Westminster Abbey the monks weep, the nobles steel themselves, the land holds its breath. He is buried in the very abbey he raised, beneath vaulted stone, beneath candlelight and centuries of prayer. But even as the choir sings for the soul of the king, others begin to move. The throne is empty, and England will not stay still for long. The Witnagemote convenes, the sound of footsteps echoes through Westminster's long hall as England's ancient council. The Witnagemote gathers in solemn procession. These wise men of the realm, king's counselors for generations, bear no crowns or swords, but their voices shape thrones. The high-backed chairs creak as they take their seats, faces stern beneath candlelight. Outside, snow falls gently over London's rooftops, while inside, England's future is forged in debate. The throne must not remain vacant, the kingdom cannot wait, and all eyes, quietly, firmly, turn to one man, Harold Godwinson, Earl of Wessex. Harold's speech and oath. Harold stands before the council tall, commanding, broad-shouldered, with eyes as steady as the sword at his side. His voice, though calm, carries the tension of a man who knows both the honor and peril of what lies ahead. "I did not seek this," he says softly, "but I will not let England fall. A vow is made, not just to the council, but to the land itself. Loyalty, he promises, strength, he offers." And with that, the Witnagemote, one by one, nod. In solemn assent, the crown of England finds its new bearer, but shadows already stir on distant shores. A hurried coronation at Westminster is still January. Edward has only just been laid to rest, yet already the abbey that holds his tomb prepares to welcome another king. The coronation is swift, some say too swift. Priests gather, oil is anointed, and ancient words ring through stone archways. The crown, forged in elder times, is placed upon Harold's head as he kneels before the altar. Latin chants echo through the halls. The nobles raise their voices in fealty, and somewhere in the pews whispers rustle like wind through tall grass, whispers of challenge, of doubt. Harold is king, but not all see him so. Celebration and growing tension outside the abbey. Bells ring and horns sound. Feasts are held from London to Winchester. Ale flows, and songs rise in Harold's name. England, weary of uncertainty, breathes, if only for a moment. Yet Harold knows joy will be fleeting. On the wind he can almost hear the sails of Normandy unfurling. In the north, his own brother, Tostig, remains exiled and embittered, and across the Channel acclaim rises like a storm. William of Normandy swears the throne was promised to him, so Harold smiles. He raises his cup, but his sword remains close. Even in celebration, the king does not sleep. Distant eyes watch the English throne in stone halls far from England. Word of Harold's coronation spreads like wildfire. In Normandy, Duke William tightens his jaw, his fist clenched over parchment letters sent years before, letters he believes grant him England's throne. In Flanders and Anjou, envoys whisper in courts and monasteries. In Rome, papal ears bend toward the question of rightful rule. And on cold northern seas, a Viking king listens with interest, for England, ripe and unguarded, may once more fall beneath a Norse blade. Harold is king, but kingship is not peace, it is a beacon calling rivals to war. William hears the news. In the stone keep of Rouen, a messenger arrives, cloaked in dust and urgency. He kneels before Duke William, his breath shallow, his voice tense. Edward is dead, and Harold Godwinson has taken the crown. A silence falls over the chamber. William, Duke of Normandy, once a favored cousin of the late King Edward, rises slowly from his seat. His eyes do not widen, his voice does not tremble, but within him a fire ignites. Gazing west toward the gray line of sea, he swore an oath. William whispers, and he will answer for it. Fury and ambition awaken Normandy, stirs beneath heavy skies. William moves swiftly, pacing through candlelit halls and war-torn memories. He remembers the years of struggle, rising from a boy duke, fighting tooth and nail to secure his claim, to hold his duchy together. Now he believes England is his by promise, by blood, and by divine right. Harold's coronation is not merely an insult, it is a betrayal. William's counselors gather in whispers. His knights sharpen blades they haven't raised in years. The Duke's voice thunders in court. He has broken the oath. He has stolen what is mine. I will take it back. The drums of Normandy begin to beat. Planning an invasion, William knows this conquest will not be won by anger alone. Strategy must come before steel. Maps are spread across oaken tables. Messengers ride to Brittany, to Anjou, to Flanders. Promises are made, titles offered, and gold exchanged. Shipbuilders work through fog and salt spray, crafting vessels sturdy enough to cross the channel with horses, armor, and siege supplies. Normandy prepares not for a raid, but for a full-scale invasion. In castles, villagers speak in nervous, and indeed William does. With each passing tide, the wind brings him closer to war. Diplomatic missions for papal support. William knows that war, even righteous war, needs more than armies. It needs divine approval. A delegation is sent to Rome, cloaked in honor and purpose. They carry relics, scrolls, and the story of Harold's broken oath. He swore upon sacred relics, the Normans say. He lied before God. Pope Alexander, moved by the tale and by William's faith, grants his blessing. A special banner is sent from Rome, symbol of holy war, a sign of heaven's favor. When it arrives in Normandy, William holds it high for all to see. His conquest is not just his, it is God's will. And few dare oppose the will of heaven. Gathering a war council on a clear spring morning, William summons his nobles. They come from all corners of Normandy, armored and resolute, in the great hall. He addresses them with the calm certainty of a man who sees destiny ahead. The English crown is mine by right and oath. Join me, and I will reward you with gold, with land, and with glory. Murmurs ripple through the crowd, then a cheer. The knights kneel and pledge their swords. And across the duchy, banners rise with the golden lions of Normandy. The tide has turned. England lies beyond the sea, and William is coming. The meeting between Harold and William. The winds of time carry us back a few years before the storm of 1066. Harold Godwin's son, then a powerful English earl, had crossed the Channel. Shipwrecked or summoned, the stories differ. In Normandy, Duke William welcomed him not as an enemy, but as a guest. Together, they rode in tournaments, they fought skirmishes, they dined in the same halls. A strange brotherhood took root, forged in diplomacy and veiled ambition. For William saw in Harold a future ally, or perhaps a future pawn, the sacred relics and the sworn promise one day. In the grand hall of Bayeux, William led Harold to an altar. Upon it lay sacred relics, bones of saints, venerated by kings and commoners alike. With all eyes upon him, Harold placed his hands upon the holy remains and swore a solemn oath to support William's claim to the English throne upon Edward's death. Some say he meant it, others say he was tricked, the relics hidden until it was too late. But to the Normans there was no ambiguity. A vow was made not just to a man, but to God. The oath's implications, in a world where religion governed both soul and state, such a vow carried grave weight. To break it was not merely treason, it was blasphemy. William held on to that moment like a blade in his scabbard. When word came that Harold had taken the crown for himself, William did not see politics, he saw betrayal. The oath at Bayeux became more than memory. It became a weapon, a cause, a justification for war. And as William rallied allies and papal favor, he placed Harold's broken vow at the heart of his campaign. Harold's perceived betrayal back in England, Harold offered no explanation. He wore the crown and held the realm, silent on the matter of oaths and relics. To many of his countrymen, his claim was legitimate, noble, even necessary. But across the sea, the story was already taking form. Harold the liar, Harold the usurper, Harold the oath-breaker. William sent emissaries, demanding he step down. Harold refused. No debate, no apology, only silence. And with that silence, war became inevitable. William prepares his propaganda in Normandy. William began to shape his narrative, not merely as a warrior, but as a righteous avenger. Artists embroidered the oath into the Bayeux tapestry, threads of accusation woven into history itself. Priests preached of a sacred cause. Nobles whispered of justice. Harold defied heaven. William declared, "This is not conquest, this is correction." With every knight he rallied, and every ship he built, William sharpened not just his sword, but his story. A king wronged, an oath betrayed, a crown waiting to be reclaimed. Norway's war-hardened kingin, the stone citadel of Oslo, the firelight dances off iron and ice. Harold Sigurdsson, known to the world as Harald Hardrada, the hard ruler, sits upon a throne carved from the bones of conquest. He is no stranger to war. Once a youth in exile, he fought in the elite Varangian Guard of Byzantium, his sword singing across foreign lands. He returned to Norway, battle-tested and unyielding, and carved his kingdom with flame and fear. Now he hears whispers from across the sea of Edward's death, of a kingdom divided, and once more the old warrior dreams of conquest. Alliance with Tostigfar to the south. Another figure watches England from exile, Tostig Godwinson, brother to Harold and bitter in his disgrace. Cast out by his own kin, he seethes with vengeance. And so, like the serpent in the long grass, he slithers toward Norway with a dangerous offer. "Strike England with me," he says to Hardrada. "Take the crown, and I shall take revenge." Harold listens, weighing the betrayal of brother against the bounty of a kingdom. A deal is struck, sealed with mead, iron, and ambition. Two men, driven by pride, now aim to shatter England from the north. preparing a Viking fleet. Shipwrights craft longboats from ancient timber, sails stitched with fearsome sigils of war. Warriors arrive from across the Norse lands, spearmen, berserkers, archers. Hardened by cold and legend, Harold stands at the prow of his dragon-headed ship, gazing toward the horizon. Once more, he mutters, "We carve our name into England's soil." And with that, the longships begin to gather, like storm clouds, on a black sea. The North prepares to descend. Dreams of an English conquest by firelight, Harold Hardrada speaks to his men. He tells them of North Sea glory, of Dunol roots that once ruled half of England, of how Canute the Great, a Dane like them, once wore the English crown. England is not foreign, he declares. It is lost property, and we shall reclaim it. The men cheer, their eyes glowing beneath fur-lined helms. They dream of loot, of glory, of feasting in English halls. But fate listens in silence, knowing that dreams of conquest often end in blood. Setting sail for England's summer wanes. The winds shift, the tide calls. One by one, the dragon ships slide into dark waters, oars rising and falling like the wings of ravens. From the coastlines of Norway, 1,000 warriors vanish into the seas. Embrace their destination, the northern shores of England. Their goal, the throne that already bears another's name. The North is coming. And England, divided and weary, does not yet know that 2 kings sail for her crown. Harold learns of William's preparations. The sun rises quietly over Westminster. But Harold Godwin's some sleep remains troubled. Reports arrive from the southern coast. Watchers speak of shipbuilding in Normandy, of war horses and sails, of Duke William marshalling arms. Harold listens, brow furrowed. The Normans are coming, that much is certain, but when and where? He orders defenses strengthened. The militia called England's shores become watchful, her king weary. Yet even as he fortifies the south, the true storm brews from the opposite direction. Reports of Norse landings, messengers ride in from the north, cloaked in exhaustion and dread. Viking sails have been spotted near the river Humber. Towns burn. Harold Hardrada has landed. Tostig rides with him. The old Norse fury, thought long buried, has returned to English shores, and it does so with vengeance. Harold grips the hilt of his sword. He cannot defend both ends of the realm. He must choose, and his choice must come fast. Splitting forces and shifting focus, some advisors plead. Wait for William, defend the coast. Others warn, if the north falls, England falls. Harold chooses motion. He leaves trusted lords to guard the south, and, with his elite housecarls and hurried levies, he marches north. 200 miles lie ahead, hills, forests, rivers, and time itself. But the king does not falter. England must be whole, and he, her protector, must become her sword. Reluctant reunions with Tostigas, Harold marches, memories rise. Of his brother Tostig, once Earl of Northumbria, now traitor in Viking chains. Their rivalry was personal, political, and painful. Now Tostig brings bloodshed home. Harold must not only fight an invader, he must battle his own kin. The thought weighs heavily, unspoken among his men, but the crown demands no sentiment, only victory. A race to the north through moor and marsh, valley and peak, Harold's army moves like shadow. Day and night they march, boots muddy, armor battered, breath ragged. None expect them so soon, and in that speed lies their advantage. The fate of the North hangs in balance, and time, ever relentless, ticks toward fire and blood. For, at Stamford Bridge, destiny awaits, but so too does death. York braces for invasion. The city of York stands watchful, wrapped in the cool air of September. Along the river Ouse, traders and farmers glance nervously at the horizon. The Norse have landed. Their banners rise with black serpents and red axes. Edwin and Mercar, young, proud, untested, prepare the northern fyrd. They rally swords and shields, though outnumbered and unsure. The wind carries the scent of fear. The North will not surrender without a fight. English resistance musters in the village of Fulford. Just outside York, the English dig in. Ditches are carved, shields are raised. Horns echo across the damp fields. The Norse army, nearly 10,000 strong, marches toward them in brutal formation. At their center rides Harold Hardrada, tall and armored, his blue gaze unflinching. Mercar speaks to his men. This is our land. Let us show them why they should fear it. His words are bold, but war does not wait on speeches. The Norse strike. The sky darkens with morning mist as the Viking host crashes into the English lines. Axe meets spear. Shield grinds against shield. The clash is thunderous, not a charge, but a grinding storm. Norsemen advance with relentless strength, flanking the English on both sides. Edwin and Mercar fight bravely, their troops giving ground only inch by inch, but the sheer weight of the Norse numbers begins to tell. The shield wall bows like old timber in wind. A bloody clash on the marshes. The tide rises along the Ouse. The battlefield becomes slick with blood and mud. The English are forced into the marshland, where footing falters and armor drags. The Vikings push hard, discipline in every step. A final surge breaks the English flank. Chaos follows. Screams pierce the fog. Mercar is wounded. Edwin barely escapes. The Norse hold the field, victorious, but at great cost. English defeat and consequences. York surrenders under threat. Hostages are demanded. The city's gates open, not with honor, but with fear. Harold Hardrada believes England will fall easily. Now, he agrees to take more hostages at Stamford Bridge in a few days, but he does not know that Harold Godwinson, King of England, is already on the march. The flames of Fulford may have weakened the North, but the story is far from over. Harold's forced march. While the smoke of Fulford still hangs above the northern skies, King Harold is already in motion. From London to York, over 180 miles of road lie between him and the invading Norsemen. His men are tired, blistered, their boots caked in dust, but they march day and night without pause. Through forests, rivers, and valleys, the king leads them north like a shadow, silent. And as the sun rises, on the 25th of September, they reach Stamford Bridge. Surprise attack on the Norwegians. The Norsemen camp peacefully near Stamford Bridge, expecting English hostages, not English steel. They left their armor behind, basking in false security. Some even bathe in the cool river. Then, over the hill, the English arrive. Like ghosts from the south, like thunder from the horizon, Harold's army appears, fully armed and ready for war. Panic erupts in the Viking camp. Swords are grabbed, shields hoisted, but many are caught unaware. The day that was meant to end in submission now begins with slaughter. The lone Viking on the bridge as the Norsemen retreat across the narrow wooden bridge, one warrior stays behind. Alone, he blocks the crossing, wielding a great two-handed axe. Time and again, he cuts down any Englishman who dares approach. His courage becomes legend. His stand becomes myth. Arrows cannot pierce him. Blades cannot pass him. Only when a soldier floats beneath the bridge in a barrel and thrusts upward from below does the giant fall. The bridge is cleared. The English charge forward. Fierce melee and the king's fall. The battlefield swells with clamor and chaos. The Norse regroup on high ground. Reinforcements arrive from their ships. Harald Hardrada, true to his name, fights like a god of war, tall, furious, unstoppable. But fate has its moment. An arrow pierces his throat. The great Viking king collapses, choking on blood and prophecy. Tostig, brother of Harald, refuses to surrender. He too is cut down beneath the English blades. With the death of both leaders, the Norse lines begin to crumble. End of the northern threat by nightfall. The battle is done. Of the thousands who landed on England's shores, barely a few hundred survive to sail home. Harold offers mercy to the wounded, allowing the survivors safe passage. The Viking threat is over, but even as the dead are buried, a messenger arrives. From the southern coast, a new danger. William of Normandy has landed. The king cannot rest. Another march begins, another storm brews, and the fate of England now lies ahead at a place called Hastings. Favorable winds finally blow for weeks. William's fleet lies waiting along the Norman coast, sails furled, anchors biting into sand, men restless. Storms lash the channel. The winds defy him. Even the Duke's resolve begins to waver. Then, in the waning days of September, the wind shifts, the sky clears, the sea calms. The long-anticipated signal is given. Drums sound, sails unfurl. The ships rise and fall with the tide, their prows slicing toward destiny. The invasion has begun. William's fleet sets sail over 700 ships. A floating forest of timber and war stretch across the waters. Soldiers packed shoulder to shoulder. Horses snort and paw nervously. Monks aboard whisper prayers beneath breathless banners. William stands tall aboard his ship, the Mora, a gift from his wife Matilda. A golden figure of a boy blowing a trumpet guides the way. The sea is silent, as if watching. Then, like a whisper across time, the white cliffs of England rise into view. Landing at Pevensey on the 28th of September, the Normans reach Pevensey, Sussex. The ships crunch against the gravelly shore. Warriors leap into the surf, wet but resolute. No English resistance greets them. Harold is still far in the north. The Normans build a temporary fort among the ruins of old Roman walls. Scouts are sent, fires lit, supplies unloaded. William steps onto English soil. He does not kneel. He looks westward and murmurs, "The land is ours if we take it." Establishing a base within days, William secures both Pevensey and Hastings. Earthworks are dug. A wooden Matand Bailey castle begins to rise. Grain is seized. Villagers questioned. Spies dispatched. The Normans move with ruthless precision. A well-oiled machine forged by decades of war, William sends messengers to Harold, demanding the crown be yielded. There is no reply. The silence, once again, speaks of war. Asterisk, first Norman raids to draw. Harold south, William unleashes his men across the Sussex countryside. Villages are burned, crops trampled, livestock slaughtered. It is not savagery, it is strategy. A kingdom bled into movement. The people of southern England cry out. Their cries reach the ears of their king. In the north, Harold hears. He knows he cannot delay. The Viking threat is ended. But now a greater trial begins. The king turns south again, and fate prepares her stage. News reaches Harold in Yorkshire. Harold's men begin to bury the dead at Stamford Bridge. A messenger rides through the autumn dusk, covered in sweat and salt, his voice shaking. Normans have landed. The king, still bloodied from battle, turns to the south with grim focus. There is no time for mourning, no time for rest. William has arrived, and England calls again. Another forced march once more. The English army marches down the length of the realm, from the ridges of the north to the lowlands of Sussex. The wind howls across the moors. Rain slicks the roads. Men limp, blistered, weary beyond words. But they follow their king, a man who walks among them, eats beside them, shares their pain. It is not strength alone that drives them. It is loyalty, rallying loyal lords along the way. Harold sends for reinforcements. Thanes and fyresmen answer his call from Essex, from Kent, from the Thames Valley. Peasants turn to soldiers. Farmers take up axes. Yet time is short. The full levy cannot be mustered in time. Only those near and ready will meet the invader. Still, Harold rides forward. He cannot wait. He must strike before William grows stronger. Asterisk. Strategy debates at a manor near London. Harold's council gathers in flickering firelight. Some urge delay. Let us rest. Let more men come. Others plead, defend from behind fortified walls. Let William exhaust himself. But Harold, ever decisive, will not wait. I will face him swiftly, he declares, before he digs too deep into our soil. It is a bold move, perhaps too bold. The Saxon shield wall assembles. By October 13th, the English army arrives near the village of Hastings. They camp on high ground, a long slope, now called Senlac Hill. There they form their defense. The legendary shield wall, a solid mass of wood and iron, shoulder to shoulder, row upon row. The housecarls, elite warriors of the king. Campfires burn on both sides. The sky over Sussex turns violet as twilight falls. On one hill, the English rest in solemn formation. On the other, the Normans prepare for battle. Between them, an invisible thread of fate stretches tight. Campfires flicker like scattered stars across the fields. The smell of wood smoke drifts beneath the branches. Men murmur softly. Some pray, others polish blades in silence. The fields are quiet, but heavy with what's to come. Norman feasting and prayer. In the Norman camp, William walks among his men, offering firm words and measured strength. Priests bless the soldiers, touching their foreheads with holy oil. Wine is passed, bread is broken. Around each fire, stories are told of honor, of conquest, of destiny. One knight whispers, "Tomorrow I shall be a baron in England. Another answers, or buried in her soil. But no one leaves, no one deserts. The Pope's banner flutters above the tents, and the Normans believe God walks with them. Harold's somber reflection on the ridge of Senlac Hill. Harold sits quietly. The stars above offer no answers, only their eternal silence. He has fought this year across a broken kingdom. He has buried his brother, slain a Viking king, and now he waits for a foreign storm. His men trust him, but in his heart Harold knows this is no skirmish, this is the reckoning. Dreams and superstitions in both camps. Soldiers doze restlessly. Some dream of glory, others wake in cold sweat. The old men speak of omens, comets, blackbirds, visions in the flames. The Saxons believe the land will defend them. The Normans believe heaven itself rides with them. Both armies hold their breath, cradled by myth and firelight. The world feels smaller, the stars feel closer, and history watches from the dark. Dawn on the horizon, the first light of morning peaks. Over the trees, dew glistens on spear tips and grass. Trumpets sound in the Norman camp. Horns answer from the Saxon ridge. Men rise, shields are lifted, helmets fastened. Asterisk, no more dreams, no more doubts. This day, the 14th of October, 1066, will decide the fate of a nation. The silence breaks, the march begins. The battle is here. The battlefield at Senlac Hill. Geography of Hastings, the land where fate will be decided, is quiet, green, and deceptively serene. Senlac Hill rises gently above the surrounding meadows, its slope facing south. The English hold the high ground, an ancient advantage in war. Woods flank the hill's sides. To the south, open ground stretches toward the sea, where the Normans will advance. Birds sing, leaves fall. It is a peaceful place. For now, but by sunset, this earth will be soaked in history. Saxon shield wall positioning. The English form their defense with time-tested precision. Harold stations his elite housecarls, tall, disciplined, axe-bearing warriors, at the center of the ridge. Thanes and fyresmen take the flanks. Farmers and freemen, many without armor, stand shoulder to shoulder. They form a wall, solid, unified, a living fortress of oaken shields and unspoken courage. Their orders are simple. Hold the line. Let the enemy break themselves upon it. Behind the wall, there is no fear, only quiet resolve. Norman cavalry and archers set in the valley below. The Normans assemble. Rows of archers line the front, bows strung, arrows fletched. Behind them, armored infantry, veterans of years of war. And behind them still, the heart of William's strength, his cavalry. Horses stamp and snort, their breath misting in the morning air. Nobles adjust saddles and whisper prayers. They are ready, ready to climb the hill and carve a crown from resistance. William rides along their lines, his sword gleaming. Remember, he calls, God fights with us. Clerics bless the warriors in both camps. Clerics walk among the ranks. Latin prayers murmur across the hill like wind through grass. Crosses are raised, ashes marked. On the Norman side, the papal banner is planted high, a holy symbol rarely seen on battlefields. It flutters above the men like a silent witness. On the Saxon ridge, Harold lifts his gaze toward the old Roman road below. His kingdom ends here, if it ends at all. He whispers to no one in particular, "Let England hold." Horns of war sound then, silence breaks. A single horn echoes from the Norman lines, long, low, and final. More follow. Trumpets, shouts, drums. The Normans begin to move. Archers step forward. Cavalry shifts into position. Hooves stamp the earth. Shields tighten. Harold grips his axe. The wind changes. The first arrows rise. The Battle of Hastings has begun. Chapter 13. First Clash, Scene 1. Norman arrows flies. First command is simple, loose. Norman archers step forward and unleash the sky. Hundreds of arrows arc upward, darkening the morning sun. They fall upon the English lines like rain, but the Saxon shield wall holds firm. Shields tilt upward. Arrows splinter on oak and iron. Only a few find flesh. Most simply fall, harmless, into the earth. William watches. His first breath of battle has drawn no blood. Saxon wall holds. The English remain still, unmoved. They do not charge. They do not shout. They wait, patient and grim, just as Harold commanded. The shield wall is their armor, their strategy, their hope. It stretches wide, curving with the hill, absorbing every test. Housecarls plant their feet deep. Behind them the levies clutch, spears and pitchforks bracing. No one retreats. The Normans will have to come to them. Cavalry charges. Repulsed. William signals again. The horns blare. Norman knights spur their horses forward. The earth shakes with hooves and shouts. Shining helms, pennants flapping, they thunder toward the ridge. But the hill is steep, the footing is rough, and at the top the English do not move. The cavalry slams into the wall and bounces back. Axes rise, horses rear, men scream. The Normans fall in heaps, repelled by the living fortress. The shield wall endures, thunder of hooves and screams again and again. The Normans try. The slope becomes slick with blood and mud. Riders fall. Infantry climbs, only to be struck down by sweeping axes. The sounds of war are everywhere. Steel on shield, hooves on earth. Men crying for saints and mothers alike. From atop the hill, the English see it all, and hold. Hour by hour, the morning passes. The sun rises higher. Still, the line does not break. Initial Norman retreats. The Norman left begins to falter. Whispers turn to panic. Men turn and flee down the hill. Shouts of retreat echo through the valley. William's army, for the first time, wavers. The English see their enemy in flight, and some give chase, breaking ranks to pursue. It is the first crack in the Saxon line, small but dangerous. The wall is strong, but it is not unbreakable, and William is not finished. Feigned flight Norman units appear to flees. Mid-morning unfolds. The Norman lines begin to bend. On the left flank, confusion spreads. Archers fall back. Cavalry wheels away. From the ridge above, the Saxons see what looks like retreat. The invincible Normans running. A surge of hope rises. Some of Harold's men break ranks, eager to finish the enemy on the run. But the retreat is not disorder. It is invitation. Saxons give chase. Dozens of young Saxons abandon the wall, sprinting downhill in pursuit. Their shouts echo in the open fields, their weapons raised in triumph. They chase victory, not knowing it is illusion. Behind them, the shield wall thins. The line loses its shape. just enough for the storm to slip in. William watches and smiles. The trap is working. William's trap closes with practiced discipline. The retreating Normans suddenly turn. Cavalry pivots in perfect arcs. Archers reform and ready their strings. The scattered Saxons are surrounded, caught between horses and blades. Panic replaces triumph. In moments, the pursuers are cut down, lost in the very chase they thought was conquest. From above, Harold sees the disaster unfold, but it is too late to call them back. Chaos in English ranks, the illusion of retreat begins to repeat. On other flanks, Norman units flee, drawing more Saxons forward. Each time the English respond, and each time they are ambushed. The shield wall, once solid, now breathes like a wounded beast. Gaps appear, holes widen. Housecarls fight with ferocity, but their cohesion weakens. The tide of war is shifting. Turning tide of battle, William regains full control of the field. He rides before his men, lifting his helm to show his face, a living symbol of resolve. Morale restored, his forces press harder. The archers adjust their angle, launching arrows high to arc over the wall. Cavalry targets the weakest points. The day is far from over, but now the advantage belongs to Normandy. Sing.
Thank you, dear listener, for joining us tonight on this gentle journey through one of history's most pivotal moments. The story of the Battle of Hastings is filled with courage, ambition, loss, and hope, reminding us that even the greatest changes come, in the end, from the choices of ordinary people. If you enjoyed this bedtime story and wish to explore more journeys through history's dreams, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or requests for future episodes. Rest well, and may your dreams be filled with peaceful lands and stories yet to be told. Good night.